Discover how one amazing grandma transformed 9 Hell's Angels into 100 loyal supporters overnight. Granny Mae stood at her kitchen counter, her floral apron dusted with flour, the sweet aroma of apple pie wafting through her small home. But she felt anything but cozy. The announcement of the Hell's Angels camped just outside their quaint town had left her heart racing. Dread crawled through her like ice, wrapping around her ribs. The townsfolk's whispers seeped into her mind, painting a picture of danger. She wanted to help, to bridge the widening gap with kindness, but doubt gnawed at her. What if she was only inviting chaos into her safe sanctuary? She remembered the fear in her neighbor's eyes as they spoke of the bikers with disdain and mistrust. "They're nothing but trouble," they said, and Mae's heart sank at the thought of those menacing leather jackets, built like walls against the world. But deep down, she also heard another voice, one that whispered about humanity and understanding. Hadn't she spent her life honoring the essence of community? Yet was she, a spirited 78-year-old widow, ready to face a force that sent the bravest running? Every moment of decision felt weighted with the gravity of responsibility. The thought of hosting the pie baking contest was more than just food. It was a desperate ploy to soften the sharp edges of fear, to open dialogue. And then there was her garden, bursting with color, each bloom an invitation to share. But what if those bikers trampled upon it like they had in towns before? Would I be naive? She questioned herself. What if they don't respond to kindness? What if they hurt my friends? Her mind spun with tangled thoughts. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the day of the contest loomed closer, anxiety clawed at her throat. With every chopping of apples, a wave of uncertainty crashed over her. Would the bikers actually show? And if they did, would they bring trouble instead of friendship? Each tick of the clock made her second-guess her choice. The only thing she could hold on to was the warmth of her pies, a tangible token of her love and hopes. But even as she envisioned their tough exteriors softening with each bite, the shadows of rejection loomed, a fear that held her chains, freezing her in place. On the eve of the contest, the beautiful moonlight kissed her garden. Its serenity felt distant against the chaos in her mind. What if her plan fell apart? Would other townsfolk turn against her, viewing her as a fool? The weight of the world pressed down hard, and Mae couldn't shake the cold grip of despair. Determination surged. She had to believe in something greater than fear. Did she have the strength to face the unknown? The moment of truth drew near, and her heart raced with both hope and dread. Would sharing pie truly lead to understanding, or was it all a fantasy ready to shatter? The future was uncertain, and as she gasped for clarity, Granny Mae stood unfinished at the precipice of something profound. Granny Mae's heart thudded in her chest as she adjusted her floral apron, her hands trembling slightly at the thought of the day ahead. The morning sun bathed her kitchen in a golden hue, yet the light did little to ease the storm brewing within her. Today was the day, the contest that could make or break not just her, but the fragile bridge she hoped to build. As she kneaded the remaining dough, her mind churned through every conceivable scenario. Would the bikers really come? What if the whole town turned out to watch, armed with skepticism and fear rather than support? The chilling thought gripped her. She envisioned them lurking, watching with critical eyes, waiting for her to falter, hoping to vindicate their worst fears about the Hell's Angels. Each pie, with its flaky crust and sweet aroma, represented a piece of her heart. They were not just desserts. They were an embodiment of her belief in connection, of her conviction that kindness could dismantle bullheaded walls. Yet, in this moment, doubts weighed heavily. Had she been reckless to think that something as simple as baked goods could thaw the icy contempt swirling in the air? Determined not to be paralyzed by fear, she reached deep into her soul, summoning the strength that had carried her through much larger storms. With each pie she finished, a surge of conviction sparked within. She realized this transcended the pies. It was about resilience and courage. The battle against prejudice began with much simpler gestures, sitting down with someone over food, gleaning stories from lives that seemed vastly different from her OWN.A as she packed the baked goods into sturdy, flower-patterned boxes, each carefully crafted package transformed into a token of trust. In that moment, she discerned the truth in her heart. This endeavor was as much for her as it was for the bikers. If I can show them they are welcome, maybe I can also remind myself that kindness is never wasted, she whispered to herself. Stepping outside, carrying the first batch of pies, the vibrant colors from her garden mirrored her inner glow. The lavender and marigold paired with bright greens seemed to hum with potential, framing her path toward the inevitable encounter that lay ahead. Each step felt heavier than the last as she walked toward the gathering location, a space against the rustling backdrop of trees and whispers of anxious neighbors. She could see the dusty bikes parked along the curb, each one a powerful machine, yet within them, she imagined were men carrying stories of their own. Unsure if they recognized her as an enemy or a friend, she held her breath, willing her heart to remain steady. Something within her shifted. This was no longer just about navigating fear. It was about discovery, revealing truths hidden beneath assumptions. She wanted to see the humanity behind the leather jackets. And as the first few bikers approached, her palms began to sweat, but she didn't back down. Holding her boxes of warmth tighter, she steadied herself for what she knew was the defining moment she had prepared for. "Come on, Mae," she murmured, a battle cry against her trepidation. "Show them your heart." Would her warmth be met with disdain? Or could she truly discover a common ground in these unlikeliest of allies? The moment of confrontation had arrived, and she stood, laden with pie and purpose, ready to face what came next. Granny Mae squared her shoulders as she approached the cluster of bikers, each tattooed face a mix of curiosity and skepticism. The air vibrated with a tension that echoed in her chest, but resolutely, she stepped forward, her resolve firming with each decisive footfall. This was her moment, one she had imagined countless times, yet now that it unfolded, the reality felt much more intense than expected. "Good afternoon," she started, voice breaking slightly before she steadied it. "I brought some pies to share." As she lifted one of the boxes, the slight tremor in her hands betrayed her nerves, but she pushed down the doubt. Each pie was a piece of her heart, a tangible representation of her willingness to bridge the chasm that lay between them. The bikers exchanged glances, their expressions unreadable. A tall figure stepped forward, a tattered leather jacket draped over his broad shoulders. His deep-set eyes bore into her, a silent interrogation. "You think we just want your pies?" he asked, skepticism dripping from his tone. "Honestly?" Mae replied, her voice firmer, defying the fear that urged her to retreat. "I hope you want more than that. I want to share stories, to listen. Just like I imagine you have stories to tell. That's what brings us together, right? Stories and food?" For a heartbeat, silence enveloped them. The tension shifted from confrontation to curiosity, and within that shift, Mae spotted an opening, a chance to connect. The tall biker's analytical gaze softened just a fraction, and for the first time, she saw a glimmer of intrigue rather than hostility. "Fair enough," he said finally, cracking a guarded smile. "But what makes you think we'll trust a lot of Grandma's baking?" Mae's heart raced, but she was determined. This was a chance to peel back the layers of mistrust. "Because," she said, locking eyes with him, "trust is built on small gestures. Each pie is made with understanding, and my hope is that it can spark conversation. You might find we're not so different after all." As the first biker accepted a pie, the others began shifting, leaning in closer. The air crackled with the thrill of a conversation newly ignited. One by one, others reached for the boxes. Mae's hands moved with practiced ease, handing out her offerings while stealing glances at the faces around her. The skepticism was dissipating, replaced by tentative smiles. It was as if a weight had lifted from her shoulders, replaced by the buoyancy of newfound connection. "All right, let us see what all the fuss is about," said another biker, his gruff demeanor softening as he took a tentative bite. The first sigh that escaped his lips was one of pleasure, and that subtle sound reverberated through the group. For a moment, it felt like they were no longer adversaries, but companions in the shared experience of taste. Conversations began to blossom, words weaving in and out like the delicious aroma of cinnamon and apples wafting from the boxes. Mae felt the walls she feared might encapsulate her fall away, exposing her to a real exchange of thoughts and laughter. Each story shared a tale of lost loves, past troubles, dreams deferred drew her closer to humanity amidst the rugged biker culture. Within the circle of leather and laughter, there was recognition of shared struggles. Yet, as the sun dipped lower in the sky, a flicker of unease sparked within. What lay beyond this moment? Would the bonds forged over pie withstand the storm of prejudices wrapped tightly around their histories? Every laugh shared felt like a victory, but doubt loomed at the edges. Would the stories told today carry enough weight to last? As the final bites were savored, Mae realized that with each conversation, she was not just helping them soften, she was inadvertently reshaping her own past perceptions as well. The night was young, and she felt emboldened, yet the lingering question remained: would she have the courage to face the scornful whispers of her own town once the bikers departed? The time had come to confront deeper fears she had long buried. The real task awaited her, not just connecting with the bikers, but nurturing her own spirit when the evening faded. What awaited her outside this circle, and would her soul remain strong enough to endure? Could this be the beginning of an unexpected journey into her own self-discovery? Mae could feel the soft glow of twilight wrapping around her like a comforting blanket as laughter spilled between the bikers, a mixture of deep voices and the occasional, unexpected high-pitched guffaw that sent ripples of warmth through her chest. Yet the weight of her own burgeoning realization pressed heavily on her. With every shared memory swapped under the dusky sky, she sensed herself evolving. She was not merely a passive participant but an active architect of connection. The shadows of the past clawed at her, relentlessly reminding her of the isolation that had plagued her life. Each pie pieced together a narrative of courage and vulnerability, but one nagging thought remained: how much of this connection was real? Would they genuinely remember her kindness, or was this just another fleeting moment, easily buried beneath the weight of their ingrained biases? As the laughter continued, she could not dismiss the flicker of anxiety that settled in her gut. "Hey, Grandma!" one biker called over, a grin splitting his face. "What's the secret ingredient in these pies? Magic?" Mae chuckled lightly, yet her heart raced. This was her stage, the spotlight shining brightly upon her. But suddenly the weight of the question unfolded into a deeper concern. Was it really magic, or merely a product of her desire for belonging? She could feel the spotlight dimming, the laughter fading as her own uncertainty crept back in, threatening to pull her away from the warmth of connection. "More like love and a dash of vulnerability," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "Every pie is a piece of my journey, an echo of the trials I've faced and the determination to connect." The bikers leaned closer, intrigued. She realized this was more than an exchange of words. It was an invitation for deeper engagement, a challenge for them to confront their own narratives. "Tell us about your journey, then," the tall biker encouraged. His voice was gruff yet genuine, like gravel that softened as it rolled down a hill. With a deep, grounding breath, Mae began. This was uncharted territory. She divulged her story, the loss that shaped her, the doubts that festered, the feeling of being othered in her own community. Each word unspilled a mosaic of her experiences, vulnerable yet courageous. She spoke of her dream to break boundaries, to show that everyone's story was worth telling, one pie at a time. The air thickened with palpable silence. Tension mingled with curiosity as they absorbed her words. Their hardened exteriors, once impervious, seemed to waver. "Just a little. Never thought I'd hear that from someone like you," said a biker, a hint of surprise threading through his tone. "You don't exactly look like the type to understand pain, Grandma." "I didn't either," she replied softly, closing her eyes for a moment. In that instant, she realized the weight of the exchange. It was as if she had invited them to traverse the rocky terrain of their own heartaches, to build solidarity upon shared struggles. This conversation was a bridge, and she was lending her hand to those who needed help crossing it. Yet, Even as she felt the warmth of acceptance washing over her, doubt chimed in like a discordant note. Was she risking too much? Would these moments of vulnerability simply feed back into the cycles of prejudgment she had once endured? The laughter faded as that problematic question loomed once more in her mind. As the conversation persisted, she became aware of a shift within herself, an unexpected swell of strength ignited by the acknowledgement of her own scars as well as theirs. Yet beneath the burgeoning connection lingered uncertainty. Once the bikers would leave, what would remain? Would this bond last beyond the fleeting glow of shared camaraderie beneath the stars? Would it withstand her hometown's judgment, the lingering whispers that would surely follow? This moment stood suspended in time, bursting with potential yet fraught with risk. May brushed the thoughts aside, focusing instead on the warmth growing around her. But as the laughter flowed back, she couldn't shake the nagging doubt. What if this connection was the start of a much larger reckoning, not just for them, but for her? Could she truly transform her own narrative, right there in that moment? The night was still young, yet the question lingered: was she brave enough to confront the residual scars of her past as she opened the door to new possibilities? The stakes had never been higher. The laughter drifted like smoke in the night air, but May's thoughts churned in a tempest of uncertainty. Each joke they shared felt like a step on a shaky bridge, one wrong move threatening to plunge her back into the depths of isolation. Yet there was something unmistakable in their faces, a flicker of respect, perhaps even admiration, directed toward her. She had shared her story, exposing wounds she had long cultivated, and instead of scorn, she found curiosity. It was a revelation that stirred something deep within her, a sense that the walls she had built might finally be coming down. But how much was she willing to invest? The night's warmth wrapped around her, yet she could still feel the chill of vulnerability creeping in. "Grandma," another voice chimed in, softer this time, "what made you want to share your story now?" The question hung in the air, heavy with expectation. May swallowed hard. Should she really uncover more? Each layer she shed felt like an offering, but also a risk. Because hiding only made it worse. "I want people to see that we can choose to connect, even when it feels impossible," she answered, her voice threading through the moment like a lifeline. The bikers shifted their stances, exchanging glances that spoke volumes. She knew what they were thinking. Her image didn't align with the bruised and battered tales they were used to hearing. This group embodied roughened exteriors, each scar telling a story of survival. Would they accept her as one of their own? As the night deepened, May made a choice. She lifted her chin defiantly, her spirit swelling with resolve. "I know many of you have fought hard battles. So have I. I'm not ashamed of my scars any longer. They're a part of me." A quiet nod from the tall biker broke through the noise. "We've all got our battles, Grandma," he said thoughtfully. "You've got guts to stand here like this." That word guts planted a seed of determination in her chest. Could it be possible that she was not only redefining their perception of her but also reshaping her own narrative? The thought electrified her senses, sparking a fierce drive she had never known. "What if we helped each other?" May proposed, the idea spilling forth before she could second-guess herself. "What if we started sharing our stories, not just here but beyond these walls? We could change the way people see us, redefine who we are in this town." Intrigued murmurs rippled through the group, and May felt the atmosphere shift once more. Her heartbeat quickened, a taste of a newfound purpose danced on her lips. There was something intoxicating about the vulnerability they had pushed through together. Just as it was freeing for her, it could open doors for them, too. "Sounds like a hell of a plan," one of the bikers grinned, the earlier surprise giving way to enthusiasm. "You think we're ready to face that?" "I know you are," May declared, her conviction growing stronger with every word. "Because what we all need is connection, a true one. And I think we can provide that for one another." There was no guarantee she wouldn't face backlash. May understood that the journey ahead was fraught with uncertainty. But as she gazed at the collective faces before her, lit not just by the glow of the fire but by something deeper, a newfound potential, she felt herself standing faster in the light. Could this be the breakthrough she had yearned for? As they continued sharing, May couldn't ignore the thought that this endeavor might stretch far beyond a simple peer connection but develop into something greater, an unveiling of communal truth. What could be forged in that fire? And would she be brave enough to continue stoking it, even when doubt threatened to extinguish the flame? With that question lingering in her mind, May realized her work had just begun, but was she ready to confront the world beyond her newfound circle? The next chapter awaited, fraught with possibility and uncertainty. May returned home with a rush of adrenaline coursing through her veins, her heart still racing from the exchange by the fire. The warmth of connection she felt amidst the bikers was exhilarating yet terrifying. She had stepped beyond a threshold she never thought she would cross, but the path ahead was susceptible to twists and turns she could not anticipate. As she sat at her kitchen table, the remnants of her dinner untouched, she grappled with the enormity of what she had proposed. Sharing stories that had always been her solitary refuge. It was easier to write them down, to weave them into fiction, but now she was inviting others to share theirs, raw and unfiltered. May's fingers tapped lightly against the table, a nervous rhythm to accompany her racing thoughts. Could they trust her? Could she trust them? May thought back to the biker who had nodded at her, acknowledgement mixed with a hint of camaraderie. She recalled the flicker of resolve in their eyes as they entertained the idea of storytelling and support. This wasn't just about her. It was about shifting perspectives, obliterating the stereotypes they had lived under for so long. Driven by determination, she grabbed a blank notebook and began outlining her plans. The first step was clear: share her ideas with them again, and put her words into action. She wanted to create a safe space where vulnerability wasn't just welcome but celebrated. But as she wrote, she felt the gears in her mind inching forward slowly. What if they were uncomfortable? Would she be able to handle their vulnerabilities when they were laid bare? May paused, allowing her thoughts to coalesce. What if they sharing their scars revealed deeper wounds? Could she help them navigate through those murky waters? She was no therapist, just a woman who had survived her own battles. However, wasn't that what they had in common? The next day, her encounter with the bikers lingered like an echo. May found herself drifting through her daily routine, smiling at errands but feeling an undercurrent of disquiet. The tension brewed like an approaching storm. Inviting the group to her home to share stories felt almost insurmountable, yet she scrawled down a date in the notebook: Saturday, 6 p.m. Days crept closer, and as Saturday approached, doubt seeped in. Would her home hold the weight of their collective histories? What if anger or resentment surfaced? What if they were unwilling to reveal the hidden layers she hoped to uncover? In those moments of vulnerability, it was clear that she was just as scared as they were. Throughout the week, May thought about her own transformation and how it sparked the courage to extend herself. The late-night conversations with the bikers had ignited a yearning for something more, a broader acceptance of who she was becoming. She envisioned the kitchen, filled with voices recounting tales of adversity, strength, heartache, and triumph. The prospect was both thrilling and intimidating. Finally, the evening arrived, and May stood by the door, a mix of anticipation and anxiety swirling within her. When the first biker entered, she faltered, adrenaline crashing down upon her. They passed glances, shadows of their stories swirling in the air between them. Would this moment mark the beginning of something powerful? "Hey, May," one of them said, taking off his helmet, revealing a sun-weathered face punctuated with laughter lines. "Ready to make history?" May swallowed hard. The tightness of her throat mirrored the pounding in her heart. She nodded, and with that simple gesture, she felt a flicker of hope rising amidst uncertainty, a chance to confront not just their fears, but her own. The evening had the potential to reshape not only their narratives but her own. They were all on the verge of unveiling something meaningful, but what truths would emerge? Could she remain steadfast as their stories unfolded? As the door swung open wider to the shadows, May felt the gravity of the moment seep in. It was time to confront all that lay hidden within. The energy in May's kitchen crackled like static in the air as the remaining bikers filed in. Each entrance felt significant, a testament to the bond they were forging amidst their rugged exteriors. The celestial glow from the overhead light illuminated their faces, revealing traces of expectations, skepticism, and perhaps even a flicker of relief. As May arranged the mismatched chairs around her table, she felt the weight of their presence, a blend of excitement and trepidation settling around her like a delicate fog. "Can I get you guys anything? Coffee? Beer?" Her voice came out steadier than she anticipated, a facade of confidence bolstering her resolve. "Coffee sounds good," said the biker with laughter lines, who introduced himself as Reed. His openness ignited a wave of nervous laughter from the group, easing the tension in her shoulders just a bit. As she poured the steaming liquid into mugs, May's mind raced. How would this evening unfold? She had no formal agenda, no rehearsed script. All she had was the intent to create a sanctuary of trust and vulnerability, a space where stories could be shared without judgment. This was new territory, both for her and for them. "All right," she began, setting the mugs down with a faint clatter. "I thought we could start by sharing something personal. I know that sounds cliché, but I think it might help break the ice." The bikers shifted in their chairs, some exchanging glances that spoke volumes. May's pulse quickened with their silence, but she refused to falter. "I'll go first," she said, taking a deep breath. "When I was young, I believed that my stories could heal me. Writing was my refuge, a place where I could articulate the chaos around me. I thought if I could just capture my experiences on paper, they'd stop haunting me." May's self-disclosure hung in the air, vulnerable yet liberating. She glanced around, searching for reactions. Some bikers leaned forward, listening intently, while others seemed uncertain. "I get that," said another biker named Sam, his voice gravelly yet genuine. "I used to write down everything too, wrote letters to the brothers we lost, never sent. It helped me sort through the noise in my head." With each shared story, May felt the atmosphere shift. The kitchen began to pulse with a tentative camaraderie, as if they were all peeling back layers of protective skin. There were tales of regrets, lost kin, and the ever-present struggle to redefine one's identity beyond societal labels. As the night progressed, May discovered her ability to listen deeply. The barbed edges of her anxiety began to dull, replaced by a sense of purpose. It was no longer just about her or what they had come to share, it became an exploration of collective scars. Yet, within the warmth of connection, a gnawing fear lurked. Would these revelations lead to healing or unleash festering wounds? What if the deeper truths buried in their stories prompted dark confrontations amongst them? She couldn't ignore the shadows that lingered in the corners of her mind. "Let's try something," May said, prompting a lighter tone in the room. "How about we pair up and share one joyful memory? A moment that sticks with you, something that makes you smile?" The suggestion seemed to ignite curiosity amongst the bikers. They shifted gears, laughter rolling in waves as they began recounting amusing escapades, moments of reckless abandon where joy triumphed over hardship. As the kitchen filled with their shared laughter, May felt an unanticipated connection forming. She was no longer just an observer, she was now an integral part of this burgeoning narrative. By the end of the evening, May realized that these hardened individuals bore hidden depths, the kind that transcended their tattoos and rough appearances. They were fathers, brothers, and friends seeking solace in the unlikeliest of places. But as the night wound down and the last of the mugs were drained, May noticed a shift in the dynamic. A heavy silence replaced the laughter, shadows slipping back into the corners with unspoken weight. One biker, whose name she hadn't yet learned, leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "I think it's time we talk about the real stuff, the hurts we can't share out loud," he said quietly, his gaze piercing through the fading warmth of camaraderie. May's heart raced again, a feeling of impending confrontation hanging in the air. The moment she had been both anticipating and dreading, the core of their truths, buried but not forgotten, was about to surface. What would they unveil beyond the laughter? It was time to confront not only their past but her ability to guide them through their darkest narratives. In the dim light, she prepared herself to connect with the depths of their inner battles. Would she be equipped to help them navigate that treacherous terrain? As she looked around, May felt a surge of resolve mixed with impending dread. This encounter had only just begun, and she knew one truth resonated profoundly: their darkest stories were yet to be revealed. The air in May's kitchen had thickened with anticipation, a palpable tension underscored by unexpressed fears. The somber words from the unknown biker echoed in her mind, catalyzing a shift from camaraderie to contemplation. She felt a heartbeat, not her own pulse, around her, resonating with the unasked questions swirling in the room. "Who wants to go first?" Mae said, her voice steadier than she felt. She could sense the struggle within each person, the resistance to peel back layers they had long concealed. Each gaze cast downwards or towards the door carried weight, a desire to flee mixed with the undeniable craving for connection. "I'll bite," Reed said, running a hand through his hair, a nervous habit she hadn't noticed until now. He leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "I lost my brother in a crash 3 years back. He was my ride or die. After that, I kind of spiraled." His voice cracked slightly, revealing the raw tenderness beneath his hardened exterior. Mae held his gaze, allowing the silence to deepen, giving him space to navigate his own memories. "I can't tell you how many nights I've spent on my bike, just driving and thinking, trying to figure out how to be me again," he continued. "But I've never really talked about it. Just kept pushing it down." The others nodded, understanding etched in their solemn expressions. Mae felt a rush of solidarity with Reed, recognizing the bravery in his disclosure, something that mirrored her own struggles with finding her voice through writing, through sharing. "Thank you for sharing that," she said softly, her instinct to comfort stirring within her. "It's brave to confront those feelings. I should probably have mentioned that I've also lost a lot of friends due to a lifestyle that comes with a price," he added, his voice steadying. "It's a constant reminder that life isn't promised, but I find it hard to let go of that reckless spirit. It feels like I'm living in a shadow, with everyone around me cheering on the highs while I drown in the lows." A murmur of agreement rippled across the table. Mae's heart raced, the vulnerability drawn out like a moth to flame. She knew this was a crucial moment, their opportunity to delve deeper into pain and possibly redefine the narratives that had held them captive. But she had to approach this delicately. Their wounds were not to be picked at, but rather explored gently. "There's strength in talking about our hurt, but also healing," Mae said. "What if we shared not only our hurt but the ways we found light amid the darkness? It wouldn't have to come as a clap back to our tragedies. It could be about the little things that keep us moving forward." At that, Sam shifted in his seat, a flicker of interest sparking in his eyes. "I've been doing yoga lately," he said. "I know sounds ridiculous, right? But it helps me find some balance. I can escape the chaos of my head, if only for a while." Mae's pulse quickened, her instincts firing with inspiration. She hadn't realized until now how their development hinged on illumination and exploration of tangible steps toward healing. Each revelation might forge a path toward their empowerment, a pivot from mere survival to living. "Would you be able to lead us through a simple exercise next time? Maybe something that brings a sense of grounding?" Mae ventured, her proposal hanging in the air. Sam looked surprised, but a smile crept across his face. "I could do that." Before anyone could respond further, the quiet biker leaned forward, drawing attention once again. "And what you said about hurt, it's vital for us to acknowledge it, but it doesn't define us. It's a piece of the puzzle, not the whole damn picture of who we are." Mae could feel a transformation stirring, a shared awareness developing. They weren't just sharing stories. They were reinventing themselves together through this astute exchange of vulnerability. As the evening wore on, stories flowed more freely, revealing threads of resilience intertwined amongst their struggles. They detailed not just loss, but insights gained and newfound purposes. Each narrative peeled back layers she hadn't anticipated, revealing flickers of hope and potential for change. Yet, as Mae prepared to wrap up the evening, a lingering heaviness returned to the atmosphere. Those hidden depths, so easily unearthed, were still laden with pacing shadows. She could feel unresolved echoes thrumming just beneath the surface. "Next time, let us get into the deep stuff," the unknown biker suggested gently, his boldness significantly balancing against the earlier hesitance. The challenge hung in the air as Mae realized, with mounting apprehension, that the true test of her purpose was looming. Could she guide them through their darkest narratives without losing herself in the process? And did they have the strength to face the specters that waited for them, As each biker departed, the shadows felt heavier, yet May sensed the potential for breakthrough. It wouldn't just be about their individual stories but the communion of shared healing in this intimate, unconventional setting. The knock at the door punctured her thoughts, prompting her to turn. Who could be arriving now? The last drop of evening light filtered through the window, and she knew change was not just coming, it was already upon them. Would she be ready to face it? May stood in the stillness of her kitchen, the knock reverberating against the walls like a thunderclap. She hesitated, the weight of the group's vulnerability pressing down on her. Should she welcome whatever awaited her? Could it be more than she was prepared for? Taking a deep breath, she crossed the room, her heartbeat echoing the anticipation she had felt from her friends only moments before. With a steady hand, she opened the door to reveal a figure cloaked in evening shadows, a woman, perhaps in her 60s, her wild silver hair haloing around her head like a crown. "Hello, May," the stranger said, her voice rich with warmth and authority. "I'm here to help." "Help?" May repeated, both intrigued and puzzled. "With what?" "Your gathering. I couldn't help but overhear your last conversation. You have a solid foundation, but I believe there's a greater potential waiting to be unlocked," the woman replied, stepping inside uninvited, but somehow with a sense of permission that May could not deny. A blend of curiosity and skepticism flooded May's mind. "Who are you? How do you know about us?" The woman laughed lightly, a sound like soft chimes in a gentle breeze. "I'm Lila, and I have a way with shadows. It's what I do. I guide lost souls, like the ones you've gathered through the darkness. They need more than just conversation, they need inspiration to ignite the spark inside them." At that moment, May felt a flicker of awareness. Lila, this unexpected force, could bring a fresh perspective to the intricate dance of healing they had begun. The apprehension receded slightly, replaced by a growing sense of possibility. "What do you mean by inspiration?" "A fire is stoked from within," Lila replied, her blue eyes glimmering with intent. "They've shared their wounds, yes, but now we must show them how those experiences can be transformed into strengths. Each of them holds stories they don't even realize can empower. We're talking about revelations that break chains, peel back layers of fear, and ignite passion." May felt a wave of determination surging through her. "And how do we do that?" "Through connection, creativity, and challenge, breaking down those barriers with some unconventional approaches," Lila said, her presence radiating assurance. "Let us move them through their fears with activities that require courage. Trust me, it will render their stories into a tapestry of resilience." The kitchen, once so filled with tension, transformed into a brainstorming space filled with possibility. As May listened to Lila speak, her mind churned with ideas. They could explore storytelling through art, ride their bikes with guided meditations, even face the fears behind their losses head-on. But what if they resist? May asked, genuine concern etching her brow. How do I encourage them to step into that vulnerability without losing them? Encouragement starts with you, May. You must be vulnerable too, Lila said, her tone gentle yet firm. Your authenticity will challenge them to reveal theirs. Show them what it means to face fears not just through words but through actions, through experiences that can reshape their very foundation. May considered this, her thoughts racing to the next gathering, the next opportunity to foster growth. Could she be brave enough to lead them into this unknown territory? The thought made her pulse quicken. It felt exhilarating and terrifying all at once. What's the first step? May questioned, her voice barely above a whisper. Lila leaned forward, her intensity matched only by May's determination. Next time, share one of your own shadows. Show them that confronting fear is part of the journey. Then we guide them through a creative exercise designed to unveil their hidden strengths. The moment felt electric. A shift was happening, and May could sense the power of transformation at the edge of her grasp. It wasn't just about reckoning with pain, it was about blossoming through it, illustrating how scars could become wings. With the air thick with promise, May looked at Lila and then back at the old wooden table. She envisioned the bikers there, a circle of radiant potential waiting to be unleashed. Are you with me? May asked, excitement bubbling in her chest. Absolutely, Lila said, a smile spreading across her face. As May felt the first stirrings of a newfound clarity, she realized this was just the beginning. But within the warmth of these creaking walls, a shadow loomed, the fear of what might surface when they confronted their demons. The stakes had never been higher. In that charged atmosphere, May prepared to tackle more than mere discussions. She was about to face a reckoning, and not just for herself but for those who would dare to join her. What lay ahead would require every ounce of courage they could muster, and the tension of the unknown thrummed in the air. Stepping forward, May felt the weight of their journey rest upon her shoulders, knowing that the next gathering would determine if their vulnerabilities would band them together or shatter their bonds forever. Could they indeed rise together, or would they be consumed by their pasts? The answer awaited them, cloaked behind doors they had yet to open. The day of the next gathering arrived, and Granny Mae stood in her kitchen, feeling a potent mix of excitement and apprehension. The bustling green of her garden, now bursting with life, reflected the energy she hoped to harness within her home. Today would not just be another meeting, it was pivotal. Lila had inspired her, and she was determined to spark something within the bikers that would resonate far beyond mere conversation. As she prepared the last of her pies, May recalled the chains of doubt that had once bound her. The whispers of fear that had plagued her before felt suddenly distant, muted by the steady thrum of hope building in her chest. She was no longer simply the town's benevolent grandmother, she was a conduit for transformation. When the bikers arrived, the familiar energy enveloped the room, and May greeted each one with a warmth that belied her earlier nerves. They settled into chairs around the table, the familiar mix of skepticism and curiosity reflected in their faces. This time, however, May felt a newfound confidence surging through her. She had purpose, and within that purpose, a clarity had emerged. Today will be different, she began, her voice calm yet resolute. Today, we're not just sharing our stories. We're going to explore how those stories define us, and how we can use them to build resilience. The bikers exchanged glances, their interest piquing. May saw it then, the flicker of recognition, the hesitant nods of agreement. It made her heart swell. Lila had been right. Vulnerability breathed life into connection. As they gathered closer at the table, May shared her own shadow, the story of loss that had at one point threatened to consume her. I lost my husband a few years back. It felt like I was untethered, adrift in this world without him. But as I started to talk about it through writing, through baking, through sharing, I found that storytelling became my anchor. It turned a solitary experience into something that connected me to others. She watched as their expressions softened. Pain had etched its lines on their faces, but recognition sparked in their eyes. Now I challenge you to do the same. Share a shadow, and let us try to illuminate it together. With initial hesitation, Reed stepped forward and spoke about his brother's death in a motorcycle accident. Each word unfurled a layer of grief, of guilt, of regret. May listened intently, but something within her for the first time felt alive with purpose. She didn't just want them to voice their past, she wanted them to confront it, to reshape it into something that could empower them. I always associated strength with silence. But as I began sharing, I learned that sharing is where real strength lies, when you lay it all bare. Reed's voice wavered slightly, but the resolve behind his words was unyielding. The others leaned in, captivated and empathetic. Thus began a cascade of revelations, a bonding forged through shared vulnerabilities. Each biker opened up, reflecting not only on their sorrows but on what they'd learned through their trials. Sam spoke of his struggles with anger, and how yoga had become a sanctuary, a practice that awakened calm amid chaos. Another shared how the bond with his daughter had been rebuilt through honesty that stemmed from his own shortcomings. Each story wove a thread into an intricate tapestry of resilience. With every shared anecdote, May's vision materialized. They were evolving from defined labels, bikers, outcasts, into storytellers and warriors, armed not against each other but for one another. The air thickened with revelation as laughter peppered their sorrowful tales, lightness cascading like a gentle rain onto their heavy hearts. As the evening wore on, Lila's inspiration echoed through the room. May guided them into creative exercises, inviting them to express their stories through art. They sketched, painted, and even crafted makeshift canvases from old cardboard, transforming their emotions into vivid expressions of resilience. When it came time to share their creations, the room buzzed with a sense of camaraderie that had once seemed impossible. Laughter folded into tears, creating a unique alchemy of joy and healing. It was a testament to their collective growth and an affirmation that vulnerability could indeed spark transformation. As the night drew to a close, Mae marveled at the strength that enveloped the group. They were not merely bikers and a grandmother anymore. They had formed an unbreakable bond rooted in shared stories and mutual understanding. The questions that had once hovered like dark clouds dissipated into the evening air. There, amid the remnants of the gathering, Mae realized the depth of her own transformation. No longer bound by fear or hesitation, she had embraced her role not just as a connector but as a leader, a woman capable of ushering others through darkness into light. This was her moment, the defining chapter in her life that would radiate hope far beyond her small kitchen. It was time to find her voice, and with unwavering resolve she spoke, "Let us plan our next gathering. Let us keep this magic alive." And there was no mistaking it as the bikers cheered enthusiastically. They were rooting not just for each other but for a newfound journey they'd embarked upon together, one that would illuminate their lives as they carved their new paths. In that moment, Mae achieved what she had longed for ever since the Hells Angels had first arrived: true connection, not just with the bikers but within herself. With joy echoing through every laugh, she knew this was the beginning of a deeper healing that would resonate for all who gathered. With a heart full of triumph and gratitude, Mae had not only transformed the bikers but herself. She had proven that courage is found in vulnerability, and through that, she had rewritten the very definition of her narrative. Now, Mae stood at her kitchen table not just as a grandmother but as a beacon of inspiration. Each pie she had baked, every shadow she faced, had blossomed into something radiant. Share this moment of transformation. You need to subscribe now, to witness more astonishing journeys like Mae's. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now and help feed the algorithm so we can reach more souls. Comment your reactions and theories about this incredible ending. Your thoughts are valued. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring conclusion. Let us keep the stories of personal overcoming alive.